everybody, and welcome back to another episode of AV Career Masterminds. I am so thrilled to have my guest on today. She is an amazing person that I've gotten to know over the last couple years. She is also part of the AVNation podcast media team. So, Erin, if you would introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yes, hello. So I am Erin Maher-Moran. I am the IT manager for classroom technology at Johns Hopkins University. I'm also the chair of HETMA, the Higher Education Technology Managers Alliance, and host of the EDTech podcast on AVNation.
Yeah. So we, over the years with different parts of my career that I've had in the industry, we've gotten to know each other, especially through HETMA, which I think is an amazing group, and what you guys are doing for the technology managers across the country in college, university, whether that's 4-year, 2-year, whatever that may be, I think is absolutely amazing. And so being part of that, how are you looking at educating also your peers on that hiring process when they need to hire somebody within AV? Because I'm sure that comes up within HETMA.
Oh, absolutely. We actually, during Infocom, one of our lunch and learns fell during that time frame, and it just happened to be the one that was scheduled for that month was about recruitment and retention of AV talent, and it is definitely a topic that I am always so interested in, not only hearing about, but sharing and whatnot. And so I got to moderate that panel, and
Nice.
It was a fantastic topic. And it's definitely something that after the fact we heard that we don't talk about enough. And so I was like, all right, we will definitely bring this topic back up more often in the HETMA space, potentially during our virtual conference or, any of our other education opportunities, because it is definitely something that is worth sharing and talking more about, and because we can always learn from each other. That's one of the things that I love the most about HETMA, is that we're so collaborative and we're so willing to share, and usually it's kind of on more technical things, but hiring is also such an important thing, and especially because once then there's always the retention component to that too, because trying to hire people is such a process. I don't want to have to keep doing it. So I want to make sure that I'm hiring the right people so that I can then focus on doing all of the other things. But yeah, finding those people and keeping them is so important.
It is. Well, and I think from a higher ed standpoint, you have an advantage from the rest of the industry. And I say that because you are dealing with students. You have the ability to hire student workers. So you may get a student worker, and I've seen this happen with our 2 learners from Next Level Learning that we took to Infocom. They had been student workers at their universities that they graduated from, and then they were 2 years employed within AV. So they were AV student workers, and then they got hired on. So you have that ability where you get the student worker. So is it easier, do you think, to pull the student worker as an employee, or are you easier and finding it easier to find outside talent to come in?
It's a fine balance, because I definitely have hired former student employees. And it really varies on what their majors are, because there are a lot of kids that have worked, for me between the 2 universities that I've worked for, and their majors kind of are all across the board. So they're engineers, they're arts and sciences. It's a big ranging difference. And
Right.
so some of it is great because then it's like, we've already done the training and put in some of the work, and we have this available. Stick with us. It'll be great. And it works depending on what they went to school for, I find a lot of times. So it depends on where, if they've gone to school for something very, very specific and they know they
Right.
want a job in that, and there's lots of opportunities for them, they're going to go there. And especially they probably hear it from their parents too, because they're like, we just spent all this money on that education and now you're going to do something completely different.
Completely
So
different.
I think for some majors, it's a little easier. Say, like
Yeah.
myself, I had an art degree. So
Yeah.
my job opportunities straight out of undergrad, kind of minimal.
Limited, maybe.
And instead of going the starving artist route, I stayed with the higher ed AV, and it was, it's
Right.
worked out great for me. But definitely I feel like there are those ones who are pre-med. We're not going to get,
No, you're not. And
those.
that's
We're
what
not going to get,
no, and
but
that's what I'm thinking too, is if somebody's attending Johns Hopkins, they're not going to say, again, depending on their major, oh, I decided I'm not going to be pre-med or pre-law or whatever that case may be. You've pretty much invested, and if you're attending there,
right.
so there is that stigma and that prestige of being at Johns Hopkins with this degree, and that I completely understand. So you have an open position. So let's talk about that current open position that you're looking for.
Currently, I'm in the process of hiring an event technician, because my team is, we do classroom stuff, we do event things, and we do design and integration. So the person we're currently able to hire for, because I had requested a couple of positions because I need somebody in my classroom team, but with doing over 900 events last year, we were like, we need more people to help with that. And so even though we're currently in a hiring freeze officially, but they were like, you have such a need, we'll allow it. And so now, so we're trying to find somebody who's the right fit for the team.
So now when you look at events, I'm looking at it as also large kind of scale or small scale production, right? There's, you've got obviously live events that potentially would be happening. So in my mind, looking at the university, I'm thinking commencement, I'm thinking dean speeches and things like that going on, where there's going to be people there and sitting and it has to go out. So how important, knowing that, because that is a very niche market within the AVIT industry, you don't really go to school, I think, for live events. So how important is it for you in this position, knowing what potentially could be involved with it, and I'm going to throw it out there. So, and I know a lot of the other universities are going to go, because I've gotten myself into some trouble with colleges and universities when I say this, but there is a method to my madness with this. How important for this position is somebody having a bachelor's degree?
It is not important at all. I do not like the fact that our recruitment department, essentially, they determine what some of these requirements are, and there is an equivalency, fortunately. So at least they're like, a bachelor's degree in related field, which is there really a like, and I mean, there's we get the like some people who had gone to school for music or have attended like the Peabody Conservatory, but really there is no real AV degree, so like you audio, yes, maybe like some applicable, but yeah.
Right.
So I always feel like it's yeah, no, it's not important in the slightest. The only reason that it's somewhat nice for someone who, to hire someone who has been at a university is that they just understand the college experience and kind of the expectations and kind of
Right.
understand some of the political things that happen and
Correct.
the inner workings of how a university kind of goes. But that's all stuff that you can pick that up. And that's where
Yeah.
I at least appreciate that there's an equivalency. So if you have so many
Right.
years of experience in the field already, you're good.
And I look at that and I go with live events, right? And with events, if somebody's applying that says, I'm done touring, I've done live event stage tours, setup, tear down, all of those things, and I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to do it anymore. There is no degree. I don't care. That is an experience of a lifetime that somebody's going to be able to go, oh yeah, I can probably do this in 10 minutes. Like your event, oh, easy.
Oh, absolutely. Because those are the things that you can't teach in a class. Like that pressure that you feel when you're like, check, and it's not checking.
No.
And you have to figure out, let's get this rolling. Like those experiences, right. You can't learn that in a classroom. That's just, you got to learn that from the School of Hard Knocks, and just by doing it and being in that moment. And so, yeah, it's kind of, it definitely, when I see the experience that people have, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's way more valuable than anything they would have learned in a classroom.
Right. So now going through that process, right? So understanding this for this position, or really maybe for any of the other positions that you would be hiring for, that you're saying, hey, it's okay if they don't have the degree. I'm looking for the experience, right? So application process, I'm assuming, is kind of like everyone else in the world. You have to fill something out online. You have to submit. Yep. Are there the AI bot programs that you guys are utilizing that filter yes and oh no, this person has nothing? Or is there a person or a group of people that physically go through and kind of review every single one?
So the recruitment department, they I'm not sure if they deploy specifically AI to weed through. I know that they use certain filters, and then definitely looking for keywords and whatnot. So we at one point previously had said, we just want you to send everything through. If someone has applied to this job, we want to be the judges, because we've found that the keywords they were looking for were not necessarily matching up. And so they were sending through certain jobs that were like, oh, if I was hiring for maybe a classroom technician or something way more IT based, perfect. They would be a great candidate for. But then there were certain ones that the actual event people weren't getting through. So we were like, you know what? I'd rather us have to spend that little extra time going through it than having someone else who thinks they know, even though we meet with them we meet with the recruiter prior to them posting it. We're like, this is exactly what we're looking for. This is the thing. And then it didn't seem like it really wasn't translating. So we were like, we'll just do it. And yeah, it's a little extra work, but I feel like it's so much worth it. And then sometimes there's kind of a diamond in the rough where we're like, maybe on paper they don't necessarily seem like a match, but when we reached out and we're like, are you sure this is the job you applied for? And they're like, oh yeah. And we talked to them and we're like, oh, they're a fantastic potential fit.
because and that is the whole thing is we don't want to sell ourselves on a piece of paper.
Right.
You're asked to, we all put our resume together and we are doing it from us as the person. And you don't want to sound overqualified. You don't want to sound underqualified. You don't want to sound arrogant. You need to find that right in the middle spot, right? So when we do it ourselves, sometimes, like you said, we're not coming across on the piece of paper, but there might be something that sparks and says, let me talk. And then we all like to talk about ourselves. I think it's much easier to talk about yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that is where the importance of the cover letter comes into play. Because I feel like a lot of times people spend a lot of time crafting their resumes, but don't pay as much attention to the cover letter. And then they either don't use one at all, or they use the same one pretty much for every single job. And it's like, oh, that's such a missed opportunity. Because the cover letter is kind of your chance to really let your personality come through, despite what your resume may say about your experience. There are things potentially that you've learned on jobs that's applicable that may not be part of your job description, that could come across so great in the cover letter. But if you didn't create one, or I know, especially as a hiring manager,
I'm sure you've seen
I
lots.
love to read a personalized cover letter that shows that you looked at that job description that for the job that you're applying for, and there are things about it that you're like, I like this and that about it. Recently, we had included in the job description a link to a web part of our webpage that describes more about the job and about the team and things like that. And somebody in their cover letter actually was pointed out, they were like, I really like your team's mission and your like how your team, kind of philosophy goes, and it really aligns with my personal beliefs and this and that. And I was like, yes, interview.
Well,
they hit an interview.
How do you not? How do you not? Even if and I am going to say, even if their resume wasn't there, but the fact that you had the link, they looked at it, they took the time to click it, read through, and reference it. You're absolutely right. Like, if you didn't interview that person, whether they get the job or not, doesn't matter. They at least have to get the interview, because that's
absolutely, because it shows that they have the interest in it. They're not just sending out that resume to send it out. They showed genuine interest in that position and the team that they would be working with, which is so important. And that actually kind of points towards retention too, because you don't want to hire somebody who has all the experience. They're gonna be you're like, yes, they can do the job, but are they going to stick around because they don't like the people they're going to be working with? Because those team dynamics are just really, really important, especially on an event where you kind of have to really be able to have each other's back, even though, and we always say, make sure we let people know when we're doing interviews, we're like, we don't have an identified A1. Like, there's not one person who is always going to be the main audio person. There's not the one person who's always the main video person. Like, everybody's going to have to do every job. And sometimes it, maybe for a while it's kind of similar, but like, we need to be able to have those people be able to work well together and communicate really well. And it's like, if you don't like them, that's going to make it that much harder. And then it's going to show in your service too.
Oh, it is. And it's also going to show potentially how well, specifically in events and what you're looking for, how well that event goes, what the participants felt, how the speakers felt, all of those
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah, it
Exactly.
lends to the whole experience of it. And if the team is like at odds, it's gonna creep its way into that event experience, and probably not for the good.
So what's your thought then? Because I look at education, higher ed, universities, colleges with their AVIT employees, right? You are very, very similar to what goes on in corporate America, what goes on in the court system. It's funny, I've been talking with some people within the court systems, and I'm like, you need to speak to higher ed because you are about 15 years behind them, and you can learn what they have got it down, figure out, like, talk to those people. But you do such a great job of empowering your workers to do installs. I know a lot of the universities do their own installs for certain things. You're learning the product because they have to manage and understand what is going on for your customer in your classroom, for the professors, for the students. So what is the feeling within in that community of someone as a manufacturer or someone that is an integrator, a reseller, a dealer that says, we want to hire this employee. We want to reach out and we want to offer a job to someone on your team. Or someone on your team comes and says, look, I want to move into a next step of my career within the AVIT industry, and I'm applying for this position. What's that thought and that feeling? Because like I said, you guys do such an amazing job, and you're trying to retain. But
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I am always like sad to lose one of my team members, but at the same time, I'm really, really excited and happy for them to, not only that they potentially recognized that they're ready for that next step, and there, and there's there have been a couple occasions too that it's kind of been like, I don't want you to go, but you're ready for more than what we're able to do here for you. So what can we do to get you trained up or ready for that next step to essentially leave the nest? Like, I never want that, but yeah, there's only so much growth opportunity within these walls, and I want the best for my team. And even though it's sad to lose any of them, it's kind of I know it's for the best all around. And like, and I feel like that any good leader should feel the same way. Like, and that's why I know that some companies are always afraid to train their people because they're like, I'm going to train them and then they will leave. And it's like, well, do you want them to be dummies and stick around? Like, that's not going to benefit anybody. So like,
no,
put in the work, let them grow. And then if they have to go, let them go. But yeah. I like that we do have really pretty good retention for the team. And like, I think the last person that left the team, it was only because their partner got their ideal job in another state. So they were like, I don't want to go, but
I have to go. Right.
And it was like, well, yeah, you gotta chase gotta go for you with your heart. You gotta follow that. But
right. Exactly. But then I think the great thing with that too is being at a university, working, and also being able to, whether it's HETMA or whether it's ETC or whether it's NWMET or whatever those organizations are that are out there, if you've been part of that university, it is such a family that you can that you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, right? It's you can make that phone call and say, hey, I've got this great person. Do you have anything? And it's a little bit easier sometimes, I think, for that group to try and find a job when that relocation does potentially have to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So looking at this and saying, okay, we're hiring this person for events. We've got that team ready to go. Now we're saying they are understanding what's going on, what they're doing. Do you ever see people move within your department and say, look, I don't want to do events anymore, but I know you got this position open and I want to do that?
On occasion, it does happen. And we had originally a couple of my classroom techs that I have. They do a lot of event stuff because it's, they find it very interesting. So they kind of have a foot in both doors. And we're like, you know what? If that works and we can work the schedule so that you can do both things, when you're capable of it. And I've had some of my team members show interest in programming and configuration of control systems. And I'm like, yes. So then I don't have to do it.
Right.
But I mean, I still love getting to be able to program, but it's just so hard to find the time these days. Like,
right.
I need to focus on it, which requires a chunk of time disturbed. That never happens now. I got meetings all over my calendar, so I'm like, sure, I can sit down for about 10 minutes and work on it there.
Here, exactly. And let's
but yeah, so I'm like, I encourage the growth and the change, and I try to meet, at least once a month, typically 2, like every other week with my direct reports, and we kind of every once in a while we'll just be like, all right, so what do you want to learn now? What is the path you want to take? And, some are just like, I want to be more supervisory. And it's like, okay, well, let's see how you can work potentially with the student employees in giving them guidance and see how that goes. Or then it's like, okay, you want to do control system stuff. Let's see what kind of training we got there. And then try and move into something where that's a bit more regular part of your job position. And then if it can't be because we currently don't have that need, then it's like, all right, well, who around here does need that?
So speaking of you doing the programming and doing that in-house, and I'm sure you have a team that does some of your own installations, correct?
Yeah. So, I always say I've got a team, but really, currently it's one. It's a team of one who is our system designer, engineer, installer, and so the classroom techs will help him as best they can, but a lot of them, they don't have. We're trying to train them up a little bit, but that isn't really of their interest as much. So now it's like, okay, who can we hire? Can we try to get another person to try to do more of that? Yeah. But we've made it so that for at least our general pool classrooms, we are like, this is our design. So we make sure we have that first side of it. We have the design side. We'll sub out kind of the labor in the middle, and then we'll configure and commission at the end. Right. So at least we have the control at the bookends, and sort of work as like a project manager in the middle of it. And so then that makes sure that we have that consistent, user experience, but also consistent in how things are set up. Because even though you're like, here's a line diagram, if you give it to 5 different integrators, it's going to end up looking 5 different ways once it's all in that rack. Right. And so, we want to kind of try to keep as much control over that as possible, so that when we're troubleshooting in there, we like, okay, we know that this is going to be in this spot. We know that input 1 is the main PC, 2 is this, and then that. So that kind of helps. But it's like, it's been it's been tough to try to wrangle all of the things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we had more people previously that could do the installation stuff, but then as they have left the team, when we then, at one point I had 2 kind of higher level techs that left around the same time. So I was like, can I turn those 2 into 3
Right.
entry level? And they were like,
Right.
okay, let's do that. But then in that, I'm sacrificing some of the other things. So it's like, all right, we just got to keep the balance. And
Keep the balance.
luckily, at least being able to be involved in most of the integration process for projects, it's helped a lot. I mean, I would absolutely love to be able to do everything in-house.
Well, and speaking of being able to do everything and wanting and having the team, I know, a couple years ago, there was a little bit of a wave within the AV industry and a little bit of a shakeup when higher ed said we want to do our own installs and we can do our own installs. Integrators were like, oh my goodness, there's money and losing money and doing jobs and all of that other stuff. And I know I'm going to probably get myself in trouble, but that's okay. You're not the only ones that do that.
No, yeah, you were right. There was a big push for in-house integration teams, and yeah, because they want to have that fine control over everything. But at the same time, there is still a place for the traditional AV integrator. There is plenty of work to go around for them.
There is. And here's where I look at this and from my standpoint, and I don't know if it's because I one point was an educator, worked for an integrator, understand what you all are going through and what you're trying to do, but you're my customer, right? Your technology manager, whatever your title is that's in that position at a university, you're my customer. Your customer is your professors, is the deans, is the students also. So professors may not be in the same classroom semester after semester after semester. But your customer is expecting, well, even if I walk into a classroom that has 1 projector this semester and I go into a classroom that has 2 projectors, I understand there's going to be a minor difference, but when I look, I should see everything pretty similar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I understand the reasoning for doing your own in-house integration. But if I look at this and I go, okay, from a career standpoint, right? That's what I like to talk about and everybody getting in their career. I didn't understand why the integrators were getting so upset because you were training the next generation of AV people.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
not that we want them to poach them from you,
right. But yeah, no, I think some of it was just like, it was yet more competition. Like, so they're like, oh, there are less jobs to go around. And, but there's, even when I had a full, a team that could do all the integration ourselves, we still there were still times we needed projects that had to go out because timing wise, I mean, that's the biggest part about higher ed is that really, like, when you're in a company and you're redoing a conference room, you can shut that conference room down anytime you want. At a university, we've got very specific schedules when the semesters start and end, and then in between, there's always all sorts of other things going on around the campus. So getting the time frames to close those rooms down to be able to do full overhauls is very slim. And so typically I've got the, August 1st to like August 15th, essentially. Like that is kind of the time frame, because anything before that is summer programs. Anytime after that, we're already getting into orientations and TA trainings and stuff like that. So I'm like, I've got 2 weeks that I've got to get everything done. And there's only so many hands that can do it. And so especially with an auditorium that may have, 2 screens up front, 6 confidence monitors around the rest of the space. Like, my team is not going to be able to pull all of those cables, do all the things, all the terminations, making it putting all the mounts up.
Right,
we
rigging
don't
all
have
of
time
it.
for that. And it's a small team's not going to be able to do it. So there's always work to go around.
Yes, exactly. So, Erin, thank you so much for being on. So, anybody that is listening and watching, Erin has an open position there at Johns Hopkins for in events. But I think you are, from being a chair at HETMA, if anybody is looking for an opportunity in higher ed, I'm sure they can reach out to you.
Absolutely. The HETMA community, anybody can join HETMA. It's free to join. Anybody in the AV community, whether you're in higher ed or not, can join. We have a part of the community that is just for us higher ed folks only. But on there, we do have the transfer portal, very higher ed of us, that we have put job opportunities in there all the time, to, share and make sure that we're getting that talent in and around. So if you are looking for any job opportunities, there is always a good place to check out, especially if you want to get into higher ed.
Yeah. And then how can anybody find you? Where can we find Erin out on the socials and
Absolutely.
wherever?
So you can always you can find me on Twitter at Smearin_off_ice. I'm on LinkedIn often, on the HETMA community. And then you can also check me out on the EdTech podcast every month. And also, and I just started hosting a podcast on the Higher Ed AV Media Network, the HETMA Presents Chair to Chair, where I sit down each month and talk to one of the chairs that's part of HETMA, and we discuss their leadership journey and things like that. So, and this year is in particular because it's HETMA's best year ever, and we have our road to 10K. And as part of that, we have themes every month. So I kind of talk about the themes and all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah, I'm everywhere.
Which is great. Because then if somebody needs to find you, they have multiple ways to get you. Well, everybody, thank you again for listening and watching. If you're watching this or if you're listening to this, as we said, Erin does our EdTech podcast here on AVNation Media. Please make sure to like and follow and check out all of the other ones that we offer here with AVNation. And remember, we are all more than words. Thanks again.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.